Hey folks, welcome back. So let us now implement our first scenario. So what I'm going to do is under the features folder, I'm going to create a new file. And let me name this file as user registration dot feature. So this will be the extension of the file, that is dot feature. Now inside this feature file, we are going to be defining our scenarios. So in Cucumber BDD, before we start writing scenarios, we should always start with the keyword feature. So we have the keyword feature followed by a colon, and then here we can provide the description of what this feature does. So this is nothing but user registration to the pet store application. So all the test cases related to this particular feature can be written here, and they are nothing but the different type of scenarios. So let's go ahead and create our first scenario. So this will be a simple registration test. That is, as a user or as a new shopper, I should be able to go to the pet store application and register myself as a new user. So that's the scenario. So we'll start with the keyword scenario followed by a colon, and then we can provide a description of what this scenario is or a heading to this test case. So I'm going to say, as a shopper, I need to register myself as a new user to the pet store application. So this is the scenario, and after this scenario, what we're going to do is we will be providing the test steps that are needed to go and create a new user account. Now, one thing that I don't like about feature files is you don't really have any sort of highlighting in Eclipse. So if you have created a feature file within Eclipse, it generally looks like a plain text file. There is no syntax highlighting or there's no keyword highlighting. So in order to overcome this issue, what we can do is we can actually install a plugin called QAF BDD plugin. So this plugin we can actually find it online. So just search for QAF BDD plugin. So this is a very nice plugin. This provides syntax highlighting. Along with that, it also provides some IntelliSense for Eclipse. This is the link. Just go here and copy this link. Let's bring back Eclipse. Click on Help, Install New Software, and just paste the link here. Add, provide the same link here. Click OK, and just select both the items. Click Next. Click Next. Just accept it and click on Finish. So this will basically install the plugin. So it's going to take some time. So install anyway. Then it will prompt to restart Eclipse. So let me go ahead and restart Eclipse. So as soon as Eclipse is restarted, your features of the plugin will be available. So let me just close this file again. Let's expand this. Let's expand feature. See, automatically the icon for the file has now changed. So this is nothing but this is the QAF BDD plugin icon. And if I double click to open, see, now the file has some highlighting. So the keywords are actually highlighted. Along with that, it's also telling that there is nothing matching at the end of file. So what we need to do is basically need to provide the steps for this particular scenario. So let's go ahead and implement the steps. So scenario is I need to basically register myself as a new user to the pet store application. So first thing is we will navigate to the registration page. So it's given navigate to the registration page. So as soon as I type this, there is again another error being highlighted over here. Let's go ahead and hover over. And what it is complaining about is, it complains that there is no step definition found. So let's actually implement the Java step definition for this scenario step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new Java class. And let's name this class as the same name as the feature file. So it's going to be user registration steps. So for each feature file we can create a corresponding step definition Java class. So let's click on finish. Okay, so the class is created. Now I don't want this steps class in the same level as the Serenity steps. So what I want to do is I want to move this class one folder above the Serenity folder. So let me go ahead and do that. So properties, so open the folder here. I'll cut it and go one step above. And under Cucumber, we have steps. And here I'm going to paste the user registration steps. Okay. Cancel. And let me just refresh the project. So now we have the user registration steps. This is one folder above the pet store steps. So that's where we want the steps to be at. Should always be above the Serenity steps. Let's go ahead and actually correct the path. Okay, that should fix it. Yep. Next, we need to basically create the Java step definition for this scenario step. So it's given I navigate to the registration page. So I'm going to copy this sentence and then let me open up this user registration steps class. And here I'm going to use the Cucumber JVM annotation. It's going to be at given. So since we have given as the keyword here, so I'm going to use the at given annotation. And inside this, I'll paste the step. Next, let's create a method. So it's going to be public. This method won't return anything. So this is void. And I'll name this method as I underscore navigate to registration page. So this is a step definition. Next, we actually need to write some code within this method that will do the actual work. So we have already created reusable steps. These are all the reusable Serenity steps. So all I need to do here is I need to import the steps and start using them. So it's going to be add steps. So this is the annotation that we need to use. And it's going to be pet store steps. Let's call this as shopper. Let's import this. Okay. So it's going to be shopper dot. First thing is you need to navigate to the login page. And after that, you need to navigate to the registration page. Dot navigate to registration page. So this step definition is now complete. Let's go back to the feature and let's save this. It's still actually complaining about it. So this can be a bug in the plugin actually. So if I close this file and if I open it again, okay, see this time there is no errors. So it's able to identify the step definition that's created. So if I just press Control and if I hover over this step, it's actually highlighting. It's providing a link to the step definition. So just click on this. So if I click on this, it will take me to the actual method. So this is the benefit of using the plugin. So let me go ahead and implement the remaining steps over here. So I've already created the steps. I'm just going to copy paste them here. So we'll be navigating to the registration page and then basically adding all the information, saving it, and then finally logging in with the same information and verifying if we are able to see the greeting. So these are the remaining scenario steps. Now let's go ahead and actually create the step definitions for these scenario steps. Let's go to user registration steps and it's going to be this particular line. So I can use let me just copy paste it here so that I can see what the step is. It's going to be at and. This is the annotation followed by the sentence. This is what will bind the step to the step definition. And we need to create a method here. So it's going to be public void. So it's not necessary that I provide the method name this way. It's just that for readability purpose, it's nicer to provide that way. If not, I can just create something like this too. It doesn't really make a difference. But just so we can understand, we can write the method this way. So let's say add new user info. Let's import this annotation. Okay. So we have the step definition. Next thing is we need the code for it. So it's chopper.add new user information. So this will actually take in username, password and repeat password. So we'll get to that. Before that, let me just comment this out. Let me close this file and reopen it again. Okay, so the second step is also now identified. So we're able to navigate to that step definition. Now, instead of creating step definitions manually, what we can do is we can automatically generate it. So let's see how to do that. I'm going to create a new class and call this as user registration runner. For every feature file, you have a step definition file, and for every step definition file, let's create a runner file. Let's finish this. And this runner now needs to be one step above the user registration steps class. So I'm going to go and modify that. So let's cut this. Let me go one folder above. And it should be here, right here. It should be above the steps folder. Let's go ahead and refresh the project. Okay. Just change this to. Okay. So this is the folder structure. So under Cucumber, you have the runner. And under cucumber.step, you have the step definitions. And under steps, you have a Serenity folder. Under that, we will be placing the reusable Serenity steps. Okay. Let's open this. So this runner file will actually be used to execute our features. So this, if I try to execute it, this won't really run anything because this is not this is a plain Java class. So in order to run this file, what we need to do is we need to add two annotations. The first one is the run with annotation. here we will specify which class to use in order to run this. So I'm going to be using the Cucumber with Serenity class. Oops. Dot class. And the second annotation is Cucumber options. And inside this, we will specify the feature keywords. Is equal to. And inside this, we have to provide the value as the path where our feature files is present. So it's going to be under source, test, resources, and under that we have features. So this will basically execute all the feature files that are present under the features folder. Now, in order to auto-generate the steps, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to run this as JUnit. So I say run as JUnit. So it basically, what it did is, it executed these two steps. The browser was, launched, and then it went to the registration page. But after that, what it did was, it basically auto-generated the remaining step definitions. So this way we can actually save some hand coding. Let's copy this and let me go back to the step definition class. And I'm going to just paste it here. Control-Shift format and Control-Shift-O. So this will import all the annotations. So basically generated the step definitions. Next thing is we need to write the steps within these methods. So let's do that. So let me first uncomment this. Okay, so we need to add the new user information, that is username, password, and the repeat password. So I'm not going to use any sort of hardcoded data. Instead, I'm going to auto-generate the data for this particular scenario. So I'll be using the Faker API. So let's create the objects here. So let's import this. So this is the username. Similarly, we need a password. So this is the password. And we have the repeat password, which is nothing but the same password. So let's say string repeat password is equal to password. Similarly, we need to add the account information. So I'll just remove this. Say shopper dot add account info. Just put it to the next line. And I'm going to use the Faker API again to generate this info. Okay, so this should be email ID and this is phone number. Next is the profile information. Shopper dot add profile info. So I'm going to just provide the data here. Since this is specific to the pet store, I know that this is going to be English. It's not a good practice to hard code, but just for this example, I'm doing it here. and this category is going to be dogs. Let's set these to true. Okay. Finally, let's save the information. It's going to be shopper dot click save account information, and then we want to log in. It's going to be shopper dot or do login, the username and password, and then finally we need to verify it. So shopper dot get greeting message. Let's store this in a variable. Okay, let's rectify this error. This should be zip code. Okay, right. So if you inspect this particular step definition, so we are trying to log in here with the username and password, but the username and password is not being provided from anywhere. That is, we are not providing from this particular file. So where will this be provided from? So we want to basically use the same username and password that we are creating over here. That is, we are actually creating new username and password. So we want to basically use the same username and password in this particular step definition. So how do we do that? So Serenity actually provides us with something called a session variable. So we can actually create session variables and then basically retrieve the session variables wherever we want to use them. So let's do that. So first thing is we want the username. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Serenity dot set session variable, and let's provide the key. Call this as username dot to, let's map this to this variable. Similarly, we'll do it for the password. And it's going to be this value. Okay. So in this step, we are actually setting the session variables. The next thing is to retrieve these variables. The way we do that is string username is equal to Serenity dot session variable session variable called, and you provide the key here. Similarly for the password is equal to Serenity dot session variable called, and the key for the username is this value right here. Similarly, you want the password, and that's the key. Okay. So basically creating the username and password in the previous step and providing it here by using the session variables. So in the final step, we are actually getting the greeting message. So we need to basically do some sort of a verification in this step. So in order to verify, we can add an assertion. So in this particular value, we have the greeting message. This is the actual value. So we also need the expected value. So the expected value is nothing but the message is going to be welcome followed by the first name and exclamation mark. So in order to grab the first name, again we need to grab it from here. So we need to create a session variable in order to grab the first name. So let's do that. So this is going to be the first name, and here I need to basically use the value. let me add the assertion. So this is the assertion right here. So let me import this. Okay. So it's welcome followed by space and then the first name and then the actual value. So the step definition for this particular set of steps is completed. So again, let's close this file and reopen it. Now instead of running this test as JUnit, let's build the project. Let's create a new configuration. So Maven build pet store BDD. Let's provide the project. Click OK. And this will be clean install or clean verify rather, followed by Serenity aggregate. Okay. Click apply. Let's run this. So it's now executing the scenario. So it's going to the registration page, entering all the info. We'll basically save it now. Let's see if it logs in and verifies. So the test passed and the build is successful. So let's go ahead and open the report. It's under target, site, Serenity, and it's the index.html. It's open with a web browser. And this is the report. So you have the feature heading. Underneath that we have the feature. And this is the scenario description and the scenario details. So if I click on this, this will give me the detailed step information. So these are all the screenshots for the different steps. That's it for this lecture. To summarize, we learned about features, scenarios, steps and step definitions. We also learned how to install and use the QAF BDD plugin for Eclipse. And we also saw how easy it was to auto-generate step definitions for steps using the runner class. And finally, we also learned how to use Serenity session variables so that the variable values can be shared within different steps in the same session.